Okay, so today we're going to be learning about mergers and acquisitions. So if we break investment banking as a service down, right, what we need to understand is that investment banking is a service that investment banks provide. We have sales and trading, we have research, we have brokerage services, and so on. The key thing here is that investment banks are profit-making behemoths. They want to make as much money as possible. But if we break investment banking down, we're going to see three things. We're going to see advisory or financial restructurings, those two / financial restructurings. We're going to see capital markets, which is all about, well, how do I raise money for a company via equity, like with stocks, or debt, like with bonds. We talked about capital markets. We talked about the initial public offering section. So that's equity. That was all chapter 3. And then there's mergers and acquisitions, specifically the advisory of mergers and acquisitions. That's what investment banks are responsible for, and that's kind of what's key for you to understand as we head into it. Mergers and acquisitions are some of the most important financial transactions in the world because they're one of the most expensive financial transactions in the world. Wherever there's the most money, there's the most importance. And guess what? Investment banks are at the epicenter of that, meaning it's a pretty wealthy passion. It's pretty nice, especially when we look at M&A. So today we're going to be learning about the types of mergers and the reasons companies may merge. This is 4.1. 4.2, we talk more about mergers and acquisitions. 4.3, we're going to talk about shark bait, and we're going to talk about all these different things that, attract hostile takeovers and how to deter hostile takeovers. So it'll be interesting. But you probably don't know what that is yet. Don't worry about that for today. This is the website, of course. And then let's just get started. So the difference between a merger and an acquisition, does anyone know straight off the bat? If I'm to get off of this slide, what the difference is between a merger and an acquisition, and it's kind of intuitive. Let's go with merger.
It's just like the combination of two companies, like in order to improve their product.
Yeah, and then an acquisition.
It's like when a company buys another one, like to make it to improve on its product.
Kind of, yeah. Buys is the key word there, but there's one more big word. There's one more big word that'll illustrate that bigger picture with an acquisition. It's usually a bigger company that buys some kind of smaller company. Now, does the smaller company consent? Not at all times, right? Let's not generalize that though. But the thing is, a merger is usually between, yeah, if you caught it, you caught it. A merger is between two similarly sized companies, whereas an acquisition is usually with one larger company and then a smaller company. That could be a subsidiary. We're going to talk about subsidiaries in a second when we get to conglomerates. Conglomerates are important. What's his name? Who's the Buffett guy that is one of the greatest investors of all time? Warren Buffett, right? He owns Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is classified as a conglomerate. It owns many subsidiaries. And we're going to talk about what conglomerate mergers look like in a second, as that's one of the three kinds of mergers. And of course, that conglomerate firm is responsible for a lot of conglomerate acquisitions and so on. So yeah, mergers, transactions between two companies, are a combination of two similarly sized companies, whereas an acquisition, bigger company to a smaller company. And you want to do this one?
So this is the mic?
Yeah.
Okay, synergy. The aim of all mergers and acquisition activity is to obtain value creation via merger acquisition rather than originality. The point is that when there are two competitors within a market, it's hard to be profitable. So if companies were to merge together, there would no longer be competition. So their profit margins are able to increase because they have control over the market, because they control the entire market. So an example is there's two companies, each are worth $1 by itself, but if they were to combine, it could be worth more because they have a monopoly. This can lead to some complications like antitrust or whatever, but I think some other people are getting the laser slides. Ideal merger and acquisition activity. In theory, even if the acquired firm is extremely expensive, the combined firms should experience a large value increase. However, this is in theory and not always successful. So in reality, sometimes it doesn't always work because an acquisition can be extremely expensive, and then the consumers maybe don't want to buy that product anymore.
Exactly. And that's why there's so much work on the part of investment banks that goes behind making sure that this merger or this acquisition is sound. It's a fair deal because of how expensive it is. It can really be a liability. And what David mentioned is kind of important. When there are multiple companies that sell the same thing in a marketplace and they combine into one company, you have increased market power. And that's what's led to a lot of things that you may discuss in APUS history with Mr. Gallos or Dr. Sanders or whoever you do have when it comes to antitrust laws, right? They were formed to protect protect individual firms from experiencing one other firm having a tyrannical amount of market power. That's a really important thing. And then synergy, 1 + 1 = 3, right? Ironically, in the world of finance where everything is arithmetically sound, sometimes arithmetic isn't sound.
The three types of mergers is vertical, horizontal, and conglomerate. So a vertical merger, that's just two companies that maybe buy or sell things together, or like with each other. A horizontal is two companies that are in the same industry or have the same product. And a conglomerate is just a company that buys another company just maybe as an investment, but they don't really have anything in common with each other.
So we're going to talk a lot about why a conglomerate merger may occur, right? Because they're two completely unrelated things. And just a little bit more on vertical integration. It might be integration with your supply chain, right? So like, let's say you're a car dealership or you're a car seller, right? You sell cars and you're a dealer because of that. And you want to buy the manufacturing facility for a certain door part of a car that you sell. Well, technically, although it's a weird example, it would be vertical integration because you're integrating within the supply chain. Now, this is important, and this is pretty cool if you want to look smart in your APUSH class. That's why I like this unit so much, because in APUSH, you're going to learn about vertical integration, you're going to learn about horizontal integration, but you're not going to learn about conglomerate integration. So that's definitely something you can butt in if your teacher ever asks you about it.
All right, so just like Reed talked about, the first type of merger we're going to be talking about is horizontal mergers. Basically, this is a merger acquisition between two companies within the same service or that create the same product, and there's a few reasons they do this. First, have a more complete product line, make a better product. Obviously, if it's better, you're going to make more profits. Having more geographic coverage. So, for example, two companies that make a similar product in different areas of the world can merge and then have a bigger product base. Client base. And then having realized economies of scale, they'll be able to put out more products, and so as they put out more products, the cost per unit will decrease.
That's why, like, when you buy things on Alibaba or AliExpress, it's usually cheaper because a lot of those drop shippers, right, they aren't making the product themselves. They're trying to make as much of a profit as possible. And if they are making a product as a small business, they usually don't have massive industrial machinery to lower the cost of each individual unit.
So some examples of this are ConocoPhillips, Chevron, Texaco, and ExxonMobil. These are all gas companies. And then Chrysler and Daimler-Benz, which are car companies, obviously, like Mercedes. Like David was talking about, one disclaimer is that they're very closely inspected for antitrust laws. And these laws are basically created to protect a monopoly from being created, or where one company has control over the entire market of a specific product or service. And a combination of competitors can raise prices for consumers and restrict competition.
So, as Shannon mentioned, horizontal mergers is where companies selling the same product either acquire each other or combine, but vertical mergers refers to companies that either merge or acquire each other on different lengths on the supply chain. So, for example, if I sell Coca-Cola, for example, I have to get the plastic bottles. So an example of a vertical merger is for me to buy the manufacturer of the sugar and of the bottles. An example of horizontal mergers would be for me to buy Pepsi because it's in the same industry. So that's what we described above. So some examples of this is a manufacturer merging with a retailer that sells products of the manufacturer, i.e. Coca-Cola maybe. I believe it's here, yeah. Coca-Cola and PepsiCo's acquisition of their bottling company, or maybe of their sugar company, or some manufacturing company, results in the combined firm, and the goal of the combination is threefold. One, you have lower costs because since you control the entirety of the supply chain, you're able to sell it to yourself cheaper. Second, you have a higher profit margin because instead of being at the whim of your supplier, you now control the supplier, so you can control that price. And third, you have access to necessary supplies in the process of production. Again, since you control it, it's easier. Some examples, as we mentioned earlier, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, AOL's merger with the Time Warner, and another example is like Microsoft's acquisition of like Blizzard Games, for example, is another example of vertical mergers. Yes, Reed.
So, where does the actual, so with the investment banks,
That's not a young question. Come here.
so are they,
Yeah.
Make sure you keep it in mind.
Answer in front of the.
is their job just to evaluate these companies? Is that all they do?
So investment banks, so
Or
buyers
investment banking related?
that's a great question. So buyers and sellers are the ones that will come to a deal that will eventually buy that actual company, so on and so forth. Investment banks are there as an advisory unit when we get to mergers and acquisitions. So when we're talking about advisory, we're talking about things like due diligence, right? Looking into all of the financials of a company prior to the transaction to determine whether or not this deal is fair, both on the buyers and the sellers part. So that's where investment banking comes in. They're usually not the ones buying a literal company or selling a literal company or acting as like a financial intermediary between the two. Now we get to conglomerate mergers. Now, conglomerate mergers, or at least conglomerates, are what we can call the jack of all trades, right? There really doesn't need to be an entire relation between the two companies, whether it be industry or whether it be supply chain. So it's a merger or acquisitions between two companies with unrelated business. The results of that merger will make it so that your firm is more diversified, and I'll get to that in a second. And your firm will also have decreased risk. When you have more diversity, you have decreased risk. If within your individual investment portfolio you invest in bonds, you invest in stocks. By the way, funny thing, the bonds and stock markets are usually kind of in competition with each other. When one is up, the other might be down, or when one is down, the other might be up, and so on and so forth. But again, you want to diversify because of that, because one is cyclical, one is counter-cyclical. This is done by acquiring a business that has a low correlation. So does anyone know what the correlation ranges are? It's from -1 to what? So -1 would be that they are inversely correlated. 0, there's no correlation between the two companies, and 1 being a high correlation between the two companies. So you want to acquire a company, theoretically, that has low correlation so that you can increase your diversity or spread out your risk as much as possible. This increases the stability, right? So an example of this would be ABC's merger with the Walt Disney Company or Berkshire Hathaway. So Berkshire Hathaway is what we call a conglomerate company. Why? Because, well, it's a big company that has a bunch of smaller other companies that it's bought and kind of listed under. So it owns these smaller companies. So Berkshire Hathaway owns Geico. They own a few other things as well. I think they own Dairy Queen and so on. And the big question that's posed here that we're going to answer later in the unit is, well, how does a company buy another company? By what means do they do that? Do they buy the majority of stock within that company? Do they hand cash under the table to the CEO or certain people, certain board of directors members, right? That's an important question, and we're going to talk about that. And the reason it's so important is because in 4.3, we're going to talk about how, well, within those certain mediums of transaction, how you can actually break it apart in the case that it becomes hostile, right? In the case that someone tries to forcefully acquire a company, kind of like how this club was forcefully acquired from someone else. It's a pretty interesting story. We'll get to that in 4.3. Huh? No. We have to wait till 4.3. You have to build the suspense, right? You go read. I paid $0 because I'm a very good negotiator.
The reasons companies merge, they might merge for synergy, speed, increased market power, so they could gain access to foreign markets, management's own interest, diversification, tax considerations. They can have greater control, and they can take advantage of untapped borrowing capacity.
Awesome, thank you. So like when we get to synergy, that's something really basic, right? That's the 1 + 1 = 3. Two companies can have a combined value that's greater than the individual values of those companies. When we get to increased market power, well, that's usually that horizontal merger thing. And the contingency with that is that with too much market power, you may, run the gun of being a monopoly. And that means a violation of the antitrust laws. That means in trouble with the government and so on. Speed is great, of course, maybe increased manufacturing speed, especially if you vertically integrate, right? Gaining access to foreign markets. That could really be any kind of merger, right? Conglomerate, vertical, horizontal. But again, you want to have a bigger marketplace, more people to sell to. That means more money, management's own interests. Hey, maybe a princess is at the other company and you can merge with them. No reaction. That's fine. Oh well, so yeah, management can have interests of their own. Maybe they're going to get a big bonus, so on. Diversification. That's where we get to conglomerate mergers, right? And you can kind of see how from each of these points I can delineate to a certain kind of merger, and that's a key thing that you guys hopefully should be able to do too. So the reasons companies merge. So again, synergy is one of them. When the firms combined are worth more than the individual values of the firms. Speed, it's quicker. So this one is kind of key, and this works with every kind of acquisition. Well, when we're talking about speed, is it faster to merge with another company or grow your business organically? Exactly. That question is so intuitive that it's kind of rhetorical, right? It's much quicker to merge with another company than it is to grow some kind of product organically, especially when we talk about things like the oil, the petroleum industry. How are you going to find a piece of land easily that America is not ready to raw into, right? Say, hey, this is my oil. How are you going to find a piece of land that's really easy to drill oil out of and without America watching you, and then build a bunch of plants, hire workers, and so on, refine that oil, right? Because not only are you going to maybe have to horizontally integrate, but vertically integrate so that you can get that crude oil to, I don't know, gasoline or something like that, right? So it's difficult. The increased market power, horizontal mergers, vertical mergers, I already talked about that. Gain access to foreign markets, that's kind of intuitive, right? You can horizontally merge with companies all across the globe that are in similar industries. Management's own interest. So this is kind of where I didn't talk about too much. Let's look at it specifically. Executive teams of larger companies are generally paid more than executive teams of smaller companies. And guys, remember, when we're talking about pay, we're not just talking about base salary, right? The CEO of Mercedes-Benz may be paid $60,000 a year, but now let's look at his total compensation, right? $300 million in stock per year. Okay, well, he's getting paid a lot of money now, right? Again, it's important to look at the summary compensation table whenever you look at the prospectus. That's the key thing over there. There's no executive pay within your research report. That is Chapter 3's Quizlet right over there, or whatever, GimKit. At times, companies may merge not for the interest of the shareholders, which is terrible. You should always do things for your shareholders, right? That's where like the memes sprout from, right? You should always do things for your shareholders, but sometimes they'll do it for the salary of the executive team, which is so terrible, so greedy. Exactly. And then diversification, conglomerate mergers, and this is where we get to cyclical and non-cyclical firms. Two primary motivations of conglomerate mergers are, well, risk reduction and diversification. Cyclical firms, with it, profits will rise and fall in the general business cycle, whereas non-cyclical firms will usually have more profit when everyone else is doing bad. So terrible. It's like The Big Short. Profit streams are now more stable as profit can be realized whether the economy is doing good or bad, right? So if you invest in cyclical and non-cyclical firms, regardless, you're going to have profit somewhere. But disclaimer, diversification via conglomerate merger is generally great for management due to risk reduction, but might not be great for shareholders because they're not always getting what exactly they want. It reduces their control somewhat. They don't exactly always know what's going on. And let's say you're investing in like an upscale restaurant. Well, upscale restaurants usually make more money or have more profit than some kind of place like H-E-B that will have stable profits over time. Now, let's say we do invest in this upscale restaurant. The upscale restaurant, well, it does have more profit, but with more profit comes more risk, right? And both of them are in the food industry. So to the actual board of directors of a company, both the restaurant and that H-E-B may seem viable, but one is really more profitable than the other, and shareholders usually want more profit. But this company that's going with the conglomerate merger may just want less risk, right? So balancing shareholders' needs versus companies' needs, especially those long-term and short-term shareholders, the differences between the ideas of the two. We talked about with going private transactions, that we linked to Dell. Michael Dell went to this school, probably my 6th time saying that. It's pretty cool. Okay. I think that's about it for today. Again, this is the link tree. We're going to post today's Google Classroom video soon. Shannon will be on that. Shannon, did you get a chance to post 3.3 on YouTube? Okay, perfect. So then Jason should have added that, but I'll make sure. Yeah, what's up?
Do you think maybe at IBC Social 4 we could talk to Michael Dell?
Maybe, yeah, I could try. I'll email him. I'll send him our videos. Okay, yeah, but actually, we should probably talk about IBC Social 4 really quick. So aside from, the amazing pizza that we indulge in, the amazing $25 sometimes we may get in our pockets, we're going to be speaking with someone that's a bit interesting. So he's not an investment banker. He's actually a venture capitalist. He works in venture capital. Yeah, like the video game. No, he's not my uncle, I promise. No relation to him. Him? Networking. I'll meet a lot of people via cold emailing and networking. The person who's talking with us for chapter 5, he works in private equity now. I got by cold emailing or resources and all that we've been doing. So, if you're in these videos, make sure you keep track of it. Because if you ever want an internship, ever want someone to speak with you, send them a video and they're going to be like, hey, this guy knows his shit, right? This guy knows his crap. My bad. But yeah, venture capital. What is venture capital? We kind of did a demo during chapter 3, but what is venture capital? Yeah, giving seed money to companies that are in their beginning stages. So it's kind of like Shark Tank. If you want an easy reminder of venture capital, it's Shark Tank. Except the difference is sharks have their own money. People in venture capital who are giving out seed money are usually doing it on the behalf of investors who have poured money to them. So you can kind of think that people who work in venture capital have a bit more pressure on them, right? Because they're managing other people's money for their job. Whereas people in Shark Tank, well, they have tons of money to just work. They don't need to worry about what others think of them or their performance. Yeah, exactly. Everyone thinks that's like the game I used to grind in 6th grade, Adventure Capitalist or whatever. But yeah, the mobile game. Now it's just Brawl Stars. Now it's just terrible. Okay, yeah, these are of course today's sources, and also we're going to be having another fun activity that Shannon suggested during IBC Social 4. Sell me this pen. So start working on how exactly you think you can sell something, right? And this is key to mergers and acquisitions. Well, while investment banks may more so be responsible for the advisory between someone who's merging and merging and selling another company, so on, it's still important to understand how you may be able to sell a company of some sort, right? There's a lot of money in it, especially if you're a CEO yourself. Why would I buy this company? Why would I sell this company? Well, can you sell a pen? Then you may be able to sell a company. All right.